So what are the requirements for non-recourse agency loans? And this is really Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So start at the top, net worth greater than the loan amount, post-close liquidity of at least 10% of the loan amount, prior multifamily experience. The borrower's FICO score needs to be credit scores greater than 650. The property's occupancy of at least 90% for the last 90 days. Debt service coverage. So this is your NOI divided by your debt service. So principal and interest payment needs to be at least 1.25 and then max 80%. And so those are the requirements to get non-recourse. And that is what most people are wanting to get when they move to multifamily. They don't want to be signing these large recourse loans. So they really try to get into the non-recourse Fannie Freddie loans. So what counts for your net worth? So your net worth is going to be your assets minus your liabilities. Your equity in your personal residence counts, your IRA counts. Anything outside of the US does not count for Fannie and Freddie. And so you want everything to be here in the US. And then for your liquidity, this is a big thing on post-close liquidity. They want marketable securities, non-retirement, and then cash in checking and savings accounts will count towards your net worth and liquidity. So let's look through some examples. So I'm going to use the example of the individual and the example of the general partner. So the individual is somebody who essentially is doing everything on their own, right? So they're signing on the loan, they're finding the deal, they're putting in all the equity. And so let's talk about that person. So if I hand them, let's say, a $5 million deal and say, hey, could you close this deal in 60 days? I got the equity, right? So 1.25 million in equity, and I give you a loan at 3.75 million. So how do you qualify for that $3.75 million loan? Number one, your net worth, including your personal residence equity and IRA and all that stuff, needs to be 3.75 million. All right. So you got that? Check. Now let's go to post-close liquidity. That needs to be greater than 10% of the loan amount. So 3.75 million, 375,000 in cash or marketable securities, non-retirement. So after you put down your down payment of 1.25 million, you still need 375,000 in cash or marketable securities that you show. So they're going to want 2 months of bank statements that you show in your name that prove that post-close liquidity. So they're very strict on post-close liquidity. Third is prior multifamily experience. So if you do not have prior ownership experience, you have not signed on loans previously, you need to have a third-party property management company that already is in that area, already manages units in that area, and it would help significantly if you are local to the property. So now let's move over to the general partner side. And so on the general partnership side, they are putting groups together, right? So they are putting a sponsorship group together and they're raising money from limited partners. They are doing all the work. And so let's talk about them. So they're going to go out and buy a bigger deal. So $10 million deal, say 100 units. Net worth on this one needs to be $8 million or higher, needs 800,000 in post-close liquidity, and any prior multifamily experience. So now what you have to do is start putting together this sponsorship group. And I like to think about it as pieces of the puzzle. So you've got finding the property, you've got multifamily ownership experience, you got raising the equity, and number 4, net worth and liquidity. So as you put those pieces of the puzzle together, you got to add up all those pieces to get to your sponsorship group. If somebody is in that group that does not have one of those things, then they don't need to be in it. So let's talk about, in this example, let's say 20% compensation is going to the sponsor. Investor number one found the deal, they're raising equity. Great, they're getting 9%. Second investor, they have multifamily experience and they're raising equity. 8% goes to them. The two bottom guys, one has net worth, 5 million, liquidity of 500,000, and they're raising equity. So they get 2%. And then 1% goes to the guy with $3 million net worth, liquidity of 300,000, but they didn't find the deal and they're not raising equity or have multifamily experience, right? So you can see the most valuable items are finding the deal and multifamily experience because less people have them. And so you have to, move as an investor. You might start where you only have net worth and liquidity, but then you start helping raise equity. Then you start getting multifamily experience. And then eventually you find a deal and you buy the deal. And so all of a sudden you can take the whole 20% sponsored comp by yourself. And so that is the goal, to move up the chain and get more equity in these deals.